Started trying to do unboxing videos for different war games as I get them. I've got a few coming up over the next, probably next month or two. Zero Leader's due to drop any time. I've got Corsair Leader coming with that. GMT's just taken the pain for Storm Above the Reich, so that'll be coming out in a couple of months. And something else is Atlantic Chase as well. I've got on pre-order. I know some people have already got that, but currently out of stock, so I'm waiting on that. So that about a month or two. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do sort of 10-15 minute basic introduction to each game, and it suddenly crossed my mind that there's one game that I bought last year that was still in the cellophane. I've literally just taken off the cellophane about 10 minutes ago, and that's Fields of Fire Volume 2. Now, I've already got the first one. That was pretty much my introduction to solitaire wargaming. I did that without realising. Anybody who knows anything about Fields of Fire will know the history of that. It's probably not an introductory level war game, but I wasn't to know that at the time, so I waded through it. It took me, I would say, probably a couple of months, and I put it down once and thought I might not pick it up again, but eventually I got through it. Very glad I did. I would say it's probably the best solitaire war game that I have played, and I have now played quite a few. Would I say it's my favourite? I'm not sure. I have various ones. It's definitely not my most played because it's quite an undertaking when you do play them. The one I play the most is Warfighter, pretty much because it's easy to pick up, put it out, and play a game, and you're done. But Fields of Fire, I don't know how to put it into words how good it is. It's a class game. There's just something on another level with it. But it's not one that you could just pick up lightly and think, I've got a couple of spare hours this afternoon, I'll put it on the table and play through it. You need to look at it. The rules aren't the best. They're a bit of a disorganised mess. I would recommend anybody getting it. There's some reorganised rules on Board Game Geek. That's what I use. Download them onto my iPad, put them from there. There's also, if you Google Fields of Fire Boot Camp, there's a very good, almost a Wikipedia type detail with that, and there's all sorts of information on that. It really helps. But the rules are not the best, and to me, it's almost like a rite of passage. If you can get the hang of Fields of Fire, you'll never be fazed by another game. If you can say you're comfortable with playing Fields of Fire, you're never going to look at another rule book and think, I don't know if I'll ever get through this. So anyway, that's enough of the introduction, and I'll get on with opening this. As I say, it's had the cellophane on it for a year, so I've just taken that off. The first game is about the 9th Infantry. This one's about the 5th Marines. Let's just turn it over and have a look at the back. The game content, you've got rule booklet, a couple of briefing booklets, different terrain decks. They don't have boards in here. You'll see that when I open it up. An action deck of cards. A lot of counter sheets. you get with that. Charts and tables cards, enemy activity cards. Vehicle and anti-tank weapon chart. I think that's different to the first one. I don't think it had that. Helicopter control card, command display, and a mission log pad. It's got an example of the game cards there. The game meter's quite amusing if you've played it. The solitaire suitability, it's solitaire only, so it is high. It's going to be the highest for that. Complexity 5. Don't believe that for a second. It is not a complexity 5 game. It's an 8 or 9 complexity game. Worth the investment in time, definitely, but it's not a complexity 5. The campaigns for this one, you're over in the Pacific. With the 9th Infantry, you were in Normandy for the first campaign, then you've got the Korea and Vietnam campaigns. With this one, you're at Peleliu, Chosin Reservoir. If you're interested in looking a bit more into that, there's a few good documentaries on Netflix to do with that. And then the Vietnam one is more about fighting in the towns and cities. on this one. So let's open the box up and see what's inside. Rulebook. I believe the rulebook is very similar to Volume 1. I think there's been a few things changed. I've already spoken briefly about the using the reorganised rules. The problem with the rulebook is you'll be doing something on one stage, so you're looking at the sequence of play, something will crop up and you'll think, where do I find that? And you'll spend the next 20 minutes looking through for where you find it. And that, to me, that's the big problem with it. Now, there is another scenario coming out, which is based around the Ardennes offensive. And I gather they are revamping these rules, so hopefully they will become a lot simpler in the future than they are. Everything is in here. Well, is everything in there? Pretty much everything is in here. What I would say, the vehicle rules are very light and open interpretation. You end up going onto Board Game Geek. There is a Facebook dedicated group to Fields of Fire, which is very helpful. People use that quite a lot, and from where I see, you pretty much always get an answer to the question. So, but yes, the rule book is a little bit daunting and is not set out in the best way. 2 briefing booklets, one for the Peleliu campaign and the Chosin Reservoir campaigns, and then one for Vietnam. And they pretty much tell you how to set your forces up. There's an overview. And then you'll start moving into each. Sorry, force packages first. So you put down, when you've got the cards set up, talking a bit about, going into it in a bit much detail there, but rather than a board, you have cards that set out the terrain for you, and you have potential contact markers. So in each contact marker, there may be some of the enemy there, there may not. You draw cards to tell you whether they are, and then you refer to these force packages to see what enemy it is and whereabouts to place them as well. So you've got different unit types, and then we start getting into the missions. Special rules for Peleliu campaign, and then map diagrams of how to set up the terrain cards. So you get plenty to go at. This is more of the same really. This is in Vietnam. As you go through the campaigns, you'd expect your units gain experience. So you know, if they don't die, that's what often happens. They will gain experience. And then some historical notes telling you a bit about each of the different campaigns as well, to immerse you a bit more in the game. But this game really does make you think. I've never been in the armed forces, so I shouldn't. The way I imagine it makes you think if you are leading. And a lot of people have said that we actually are veterans as well. Now let's get on to the counters, and this is where I'll say you've got a lot of counters there. All double-sided counters. These are more generic ones for each. These will be for all the campaigns. These first 2, that's your enemy. When you're under fire, there tends to be the red ones that you put down. These are your own units. Use different illuminations as communication. This is when you're out of communication with the radio and the phones. You've got flares that you can use. Different weapons that you have. Injury markers. And these are your enemy. These are the Vietnamese and the Japanese and the Koreans. So yes, a lot of counters. They don't fit back in the box. I don't know, I'm just jumping ahead. Yeah, you do get some little bags that you can put them in. What I do, when I've got them up here just to show you, is I use either the GMT's own counter trays, Or DBG do some as well, which are deeper, fit more in, but the lids don't tend to fit on quite as well. So I have a bit of, I use both, but you can see how many counters there are. I've got three of those filled up. So yeah, a lot more counters than your average game. I think that's the best way of putting it. Mission logs, you can download more of these. I mean, you do get a lot, because I know a lot of games you only tend to get one or two of these, and then you have to photocopy them yourself. But you do get a full pad with these ones, and it's double-sided, recording everything of how you're doing with each individual mission. You do need to keep a record of it, because, as I say, you gain experience points as you're going along, and your units become tougher as long as they don't get wiped out. Just move that over there so I'll forget that. Now we're on to your player aids. This is determined in the action that the enemy takes, depending what position they're in at the time, so you refer to that. Force packages, that I think is just a copy of what is in the mission logs as well. We talked about the packages. That tells you where they're placed. Chinese forces, North Vietnamese, and the Japanese. Vehicle anti-tank weapons chart. So you're referring to that when you're firing on the enemy. This is useful. This is a list of symbols which you will find. I'm just jumping ahead here. On these cards, you can see one of the symbols there. So you turn these cards over, and depending on the reason you actually turn them over, they'll mean different things. But this is one that I refer to constantly. Helicopter control card. I've not actually used the helicopters. I've not done the Vietnam campaign in the first one yet, so I've never used these. So what I can tell you, this goes alongside the cards. So you'll have the cards laid down this side. You'll have this. So you'll have your assets. You'll have your different flares. You might have some runners on the table here. But what you've got for each unit there. You've got your mortars. This also tells you the number of actions you've got left for each one. You're limited each turn with how many actions you've got left for each unit, and you've got to be in communication. The big thing about this game is it's not a light game where you're just charging forward to take out the enemy. It's all about staying in communication with your units, making sure that they can act on the way that you want them to. That's the key to the game, and that's why people can find it heavy going and some people give up on it. So yeah, that's the command display, and then we're on to the cards, which I will open. I'll probably not open all of the different terrain cards. I'll show you one as an example. That's just my OCD, not wanting to get them all untidy before I play them. But these are your cards that you use for everything. So you've got HQ, that tells you whether an HQ event occurs. They've got various symbols on, which, as I say, you refer to that other sheet. Show you what they are. So all the different symbols on. This is to do with the number of actions that you're allowed to use each turn, depending on when you're turning it. You refer to this when you're actually attacking somebody or they're attacking you, to tell you how it's done. That's the effect of if you've been hit, that's what effect it is. So in these cases, whatever unit they are, veteran, line or green, they'll be suffering from 2 casualties. This on the bottom, this is a diceless game. I would argue it's not, and I've never heard anybody else say this, so might be being quite controversial here, but rather than roll a dice, what you do is it'll tell you there's a you've got a 1 in 5 chance of something occurring. Oh, let me just use an example. So if I can show you on here, what have we got here? So depending on the tactics that have been used, this unit, it's on the same card as a US unit and it's undercover. So, the tactics been used are deliberate. So, in effect, to me, you are rolling a 3-sided dice. And on a 1, you take no action. On a 2 or a 3, you attempt to make a grenade attack. So, I don't know, you do. I don't think you get a 3-sided dice. You can't have a 3-sided dice. Anyway, I'm waffling. You can't have a 3-sided. So say it was a 6-sided dice. On a 1 or a 2, you'd be taking no action. On a 3, 4, 5 or 6, you'd be attempting to make a grenade attack. You don't roll the dice. What we do is, and I'm just still confusing things by talking about 6, but we're going on it's out of 3. So we look at 3. And in effect, you've rolled a 3. So you would make a grenade attack. If it was a 6, you'd roll a 6. So to me, that's the same as rolling a dice. There's no different, but it's a diceless system. But yeah, no, it's not. And then finally, you have. I can open these quite easily. You spending 5 minutes watching me trying to tear through cellophane. And as you can see, these are your train cards. You've got the Surf Zone, Dunes, Palm Grove. So you will lay them out. It'll tell you that you lay them out. So you might have 3 surf zones, and you might go on to the Dunes, and you have to advance along there. This lets you know whether vehicles can go in there, the terrain, what cover there is. You can see there's no cover here. You're expecting a surf zone, it's flat. You've got palm groves, which are more deadly when there's explosions going off. You've got airfields. Sorry, I'm holding that out of the. So that's the. I will open it all just to show the difference. What is different in this one, I gather, and again, obviously, I haven't played this one, but in the first volume, it was random. The cards were random. You could get any terrain. You got hillsides. On these, and I believe it's on all of them. I know definitely on Peleliu. I'm not sure about the others, but I believe it is that it's set, so it will tell you. You've got different buildings. This is the Vietnamese one, which is the city fight, and you've got a garden compound. Yeah, and like I say, definitely for Peleliu, it's set. I believe for all 3 of them, it's set. Although I could be wrong on those. And then Chosin Reservoir, same again. So that is my unboxing. It's a little bit strange, this one, because I'm actually unboxing a game that I've played. So although there may be slight differences in Volume 2 and Volume 1, I do understand the game. So hopefully if you're thinking about maybe getting Fields of Fire at some point, this has been useful to you. Okay, thank you.